good evening, good night, good whatever time of the day it is, everybody. I hope you're having a lovely, wonderful day today. Now, it's quite late for me, as it always is when I do these filming, but it's still a good day. Alright, today is going to be another one of my random thoughts on stuff and tech, and today is the case for the automated car. And when I talk about automated car, I'm not necessarily talking about electric cars, but generally they will be. It's actually the more autonomous vehicles we have, in fact don't have currently. There are several levels of autonomous car. I'm booking more of the level 4, level 5, which are fully autonomous, where you don't need a driver. Which sounds a bit far-fetched, it sounds like it's decades and decades away, and well, it is and it isn't. If you just think back 20 years, you had cruise control, but that was it. You sort of had assisted braking, come on about 15 years ago, and that's now moved on to many more models. And then you had lane guiding ones, where it'd tell you if you're drifting out of lanes. And then you have the sort of autopilot ones we have on things like the Tesla and that now, where it will follow the car in front. Now, they're all sort of level 1, level 2, and they're not really level. Level 3 is coming on now, but it's still not there. Level 4 and 5 are there to an extent. Well, not level 5, because that has to be able to basically do anything we can do driving. Level 4 has to be able to drive, this is my belief anyway, it has to be able to drive anywhere under certain conditions, basically. So it can drive, but you know, if it's a heavy fog or blizzards and stuff like that, then not necessarily, and then I think that's when a human would take over. I think that's right. That's my belief anyway, and that's the sort of level I'm thinking. Alright, anyway, so key thoughts and reasons for them is, I mean, one of them is they're safer. I mean, you see in the news, like, oh, there's big crashes with the Tesla car crashes and kills the driver, or crashes into somebody and somebody gets knocked over and killed or whatever, and that is terrible. And sorry, the way I said that, then maybe it's like, oh, whatever. You know, it is a terrible thing. But the fact that currently way more people die on the roads of the UK, the US, and everywhere, and places like India and China, as a proportion of miles driven, than people with any automated one. It just makes sense. And take the human out of the equation. Somebody who gets distracted by a phone, or kids fighting in the car, or something shiny, or you know, if there's a crash on the other side of the road, we all rubberneck, and then we crash, or it causes congestion stuff. Take them out of the equation, and it's so much safer. And you know, and sort of going on with the rubberneck and stuff, that's congestion. I mean, it's more efficient to have automated cars and stuff. I mean, they are more efficient, they're more environmentally friendly, because they use less fuel, because they are able to concentrate on what they're doing. They are there to get from A to B safely and well and efficiently, whereas humans aren't. We do different things when we travel. I mean, I like driving, I like going for a drive, but that doesn't mean it's I'm particularly good at doing it economically or safely or whatever. I think I'm actually quite good at doing it safely though. But by reducing congestion on roads and stuff, you can increase the number of people you put onto those roads, and with things like electric cars, which are greener, you can fit more people onto the roads, and they can utilise them more. And as automated vehicles would potentially be able to talk to each other, they'll be able to drive around, again with with less space between vehicles, so the utilisation is better. So that you don't have to make huge 5-10 lane highways to get lots of cars on, so you can move people around. You can actually do it on much smaller road systems, so you don't have to invest in much in infrastructure. But talking about infrastructure, one thing you can do is then, to invest in these huge, massive infrastructures, you can add a single extra lane, which is a automated fast lane, which is in effect a proper high-speed road, where fast vehicles will be able to go on it, and they'll be able to go on and move around and shift people around much quicker. So that means you don't have to spend as much money on infrastructure like trains and stuff like that, which are expensive, and laying new railway lines, and they can only go from point to point, whereas this, you can create a mass transit system that actually goes to many other places that you wouldn't do if you're building just a high-speed train line. So like in the UK, we use the motorway network. You add an extra lane to it all, or you use one of the lanes, which is for the high-speed traffic lane, and it moves around at the top speed of the vehicles. And, when you think who will pay for that infrastructure, and it's like, well, the same people who pay for it now, the road users, through either vehicle taxes or tolls, like they have on the continent with the faster roads and stuff. So, but currently railways are a heavily subsidised system at the minute, which is used for moving people around. So why cannot a high-speed road network used for autonomous systems work in the same way? Autonomous vehicle, well, what is it? It's autonomous. Send it to work for you. I know a lot of people wouldn't want to do this, but if you've got a vehicle that can drive around for itself, you could sign up for Uber or Lyft or one of those services, and it can be a taxi for the day. So when you go to it drives you to work, it then is a taxi for the day. I mean, if you imagine you're at work for 8 hours, it's just sit there doing nothing for 8 hours. Well, why doesn't it go off and be a taxi? And it can drive itself to a car wash and get itself cleaned while it's gone. It can get itself recharged, so it will pay for itself and do all that, and it just comes back to you all nice and ready for your drive home. And in fact, once you're then home, if you're staying in for the evening, it can go out for work for you. It can go out and be a taxi again or whatever. So, I mean, it can work for 8 hours, or it can work for 24 hours, well, 23 hours, minus the little bit of time you're at work. But it doesn't have to be a taxi. I know some people are like, oh, I wouldn't want to do it because, I wouldn't want my other people in my car and stuff. And that's fair enough, and those people won't use it as a taxi. But you could, you get a vehicle that could be used as a delivery vehicle for Amazon or DHL or one of the other parcel companies. Not necessarily moving parcels from the depot to the homes, but between depots, for instance. Your car goes off to work and works for a company where they need to move something from A to B. There we go. And that's what it can do. And by doing this sort of thing, that greatly reduces the cost of ownership. I mean, one of the troubles people have with the autonomous vehicles we have at the minute, which are things like the Tesla, which are not autonomous, I know, but the closest thing we do have is the sheer cost of them. And yes, they're coming down in price, especially with things like the Model 3, but we're still talking, for the higher end models, 100,000 plus. Now, actually imagine if your car's going to work for you, and it works as an Uber driver, and it's just working on the low end here, so it's doing 2 sort of £15 rides an hour. That's 52 weeks a year, 5 days, 8 hours a day, 2 rides a thing, £15. That's £31,000 a year. So actually, this vehicle was paid for itself in just over 3 years. Okay, adding maintenance costs and servicing, and you're looking at probably 4 years to return the cost. So that is not a lot of time, because after that, it's earning you £31,000 a year. It does sound a bit far-fetched, but it's not really when you think about it. Autonomous vehicles, yeah, they are. To drive up to my house, they're a decade at least away, if not 2, just for the technology to be there and the legislation to follow with that. That's the other thing. It's finding a legislation system that works for them. But there are use cases where they currently actually are being used on the road right now. I mean, most of the test sites and that have been in places like Arizona, which are a perfect visibility pretty much every day of the year. It rains for 10 minutes a year, and it might be a little bit foggy for 20 minutes a decade. So that doesn't work in Scotland or Sweden or Norwich. But there are places though that it would work in places like the UK now. So yeah, universities and business campuses are already prime locations and examples for the use of autonomous vehicles, where they can in effect just have they run set routes, or they run routes where there's a contained environment, so people can hop in and hop out as a hop on sort of taxi service instead of a bus service to move people from one place to another. Google's Waymo are already doing a sort of similar thing to this already in some test environments, and in Tokyo are looking at getting autonomous vehicles or taxis on the road for the Olympics in 2020. So, I mean, they're not far at all away, and there is a use for campuses and stuff already. Well, it's happening already. So you know, smart autonomous vehicles are almost here. They're not far away. I mean, we're talking in a generation, they will massively upend parts of the economy. And I will do more on that in a later video to explain. But just think about some of the things I've said and how it would affect people. So anyway, what do you think? Do you think I'm talking rubbish? Is it something you're looking forward to? What? Let me know. If you've got any constructive criticism or anything like that, leave it in a comment below, and I'd love to hear from you. Do you think it's all a load of hype? I mean, I know some people do. I was a bit dubious until I read a bit more about it and started to open my eyes. I will leave some links again in the description below about where I found bits of information and stuff, and some videos I watched, so worth having a look. So if you did please like this video, please subscribe, and make sure if you do subscribe, ring the bell, otherwise there's no point in subscribing because you'll just never hear about what other things I do. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for another video. Take care.